Nestled along the banks of the Irrawaddy River, in the heart of present-day Myanmar, lies a landscape dotted with thousands of majestic temples, pagodas, and stupas. This region, known as Bagan, was once the thriving center of the Pagan kingdom, an ancient civilization whose glory shaped the cultural, religious, and political foundations of Myanmar. The story of Pagan is one of ambition, devotion, and transformation, stretching back nearly 1,000 years. The dawn of Pagan's greatness begins in the 9th century, when small settlements and villages clustered along the fertile riverbanks. These communities, trading and farming, found themselves at the crossroads of powerful influences from India, China, and the Mon kingdoms of Lower Burma. By the mid-9th century, a formidable leader named King Anaurachta rose from among them, determined to unite disparate groups under a single banner. His vision was not only of a kingdom, but of a civilization that would radiate influence and spiritual power throughout the region. Anaurachta's reign marked the true beginning of Pagan's golden age. He understood that unity required more than military strength. It needed a shared faith. At the time, the region was a mosaic of animist beliefs and local cults. But Anaurachta, inspired by the teachings of Theravada Buddhism brought by monks from the Mon kingdom, declared the new faith as the foundation of the pagan realm. He invited learned monks, collected sacred texts, and commissioned the construction of temples and monasteries. Under his guidance, Pagan transformed into a city of spires, where the skyline glittered with gold and reverberated with the sound of chanting. As Pagan flourished, its rulers invested vast resources into building. Over the next 2 centuries, an estimated 10,000 religious monuments rose from the plains, each an expression of devotion and artistic excellence. The temples of Bagan, with their soaring terraces, intricate carvings, and gleaming stupas, became a magnet for pilgrims, scholars, and traders. The most famous among them, the Ananda Temple, completed in the early 12th century, stands as a testament to the architectural genius of the time. Its walls depict scenes from the Buddha's life, while its central spire reaches skyward, symbolizing spiritual ascent. But Pagan was more than a spiritual center. It was a hub of commerce, culture, and innovation. The kingdom's strategic location along the Irrawaddy River facilitated the flow of goods and ideas. Merchants arrived from far-off lands. Indian traders brought textiles and spices. Chinese caravans came laden with ceramics and silk, and emissaries from Southeast Asia exchanged exotic fauna and valuable minerals. The bustling markets of Pagan filled with the sounds of barter and conversation, while the royal court entertained visitors with music, poetry, and dance. The prosperity of Pagan was reflected in its administration. Kings ruled from lavish palaces, surrounded by ministers and court officials who oversaw the collection of taxes, maintenance of irrigation systems, and the enforcement of law. The kingdom's bureaucracy ensured that the vast agricultural lands yielded abundant rice harvests, feeding not only the local population, but also supporting the monastic communities that played a central role in daily life. Education flourished alongside religious devotion. Monasteries doubled as centers of learning, where young novices studied Buddhist philosophy, literature, mathematics, and astronomy. The preservation and copying of sacred texts became a revered art, and libraries filled with palm leaf manuscripts. The intellectual vibrancy of Pagan attracted scholars from neighboring regions who came to debate, translate, and expand upon Buddhist teachings. The artistic legacy of Pagan is found not only in its architecture, but also in its sculpture and painting. Craftsmen carved delicate figures of the Buddha and other deities from stone and wood, adorning temple interiors with scenes of enlightenment and compassion. Murals painted on temple walls depicted celestial realms, mythical creatures, and tales of moral virtue, offering both inspiration and instruction to worshippers. Gold leaf, lacquer, and precious gems were used to embellish sacred images, reflecting the kingdom's wealth and the devotion of its people. Yet Pagan's greatness was not without challenges. As the kingdom expanded, the demands on its resources grew. The construction of temples required vast sums, much of which came from donations by the ruling elite and prosperous merchants seeking spiritual merit. Over time, The transfer of land and wealth to religious institutions reduced the kingdom's taxable resources, straining the royal treasury. The delicate balance between spiritual devotion and economic stability became a point of tension. Externally, Pagan faced the perennial threats of neighboring powers. Its rulers navigated complex relationships with the Chinese dynasties to the north, the Khmer Empire to the east, and the Mon kingdoms to the south. Diplomacy and military prowess were essential, but as the 13th century unfolded, a new and formidable challenge emerged: the Mongol Empire. The Mongols, under Kublai Khan, extended their reach into Southeast Asia, demanding tribute and submission from Pagan's kings. The encounter with the Mongols proved devastating. In 1287, after a series of confrontations and failed negotiations, the Mongol armies swept into Pagan, sacking the city and shattering the kingdom's cohesion. The royal dynasty fragmented, and the once mighty Pagan slipped into decline. Temples and monasteries fell into disrepair, and the grandeur of the court faded into memory. Yet despite the fall, the legacy of the Pagan kingdom endured. The temples of Bagan, silent and ageless, became the keepers of Pagan's story. Pilgrims continued to arrive, offering prayers and seeking blessings among the ruins. Local communities preserved ancient customs, passing down tales of the kingdom's founders, builders, and saints. The influence of Theravada Buddhism, firmly rooted in pagan soil, spread throughout Myanmar, shaping the nation's identity for centuries to come. Today, the plain of Bagan stands as one of the world's greatest archaeological treasures. Its temples, rising in dusty splendor, evoke the spirit of a civilization that believed in the transformative power of faith, art, and learning. The story of the Pagan kingdom is not merely the tale of kings and conquests, but of a people who dreamed beyond the horizon, who built not only for themselves, but for generations yet unborn. In the golden light of dawn, as the mist drifts over the Irrawaddy and the spires of Bagan shimmer against the sky, one can sense the enduring glory of Pagan, the ancient heart of Myanmar, beating still with the promise of wisdom, beauty, and hope.